I'm going to show you how to report on invasives. The destruction would have to come later. The town and the ACC has a very strong herbicide policy, which does not yet include individual isolated invasives being taken out by non-certified folks as yourself. So when we get past that little bump, we'll get some hunter killers out in the habitat.
Yeah, and let me just add one comment. I think the goal of this right now is twofold. One is to identify locations with it, and number two, identify how large of an infestation that we're dealing with. That'll give John the ability to prioritize. Is that fair, John?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So just as a preface, invasives almost always grow in sunlight. They very, very rarely will grow in deep forest shade. So that means, as an advantage to us, that they will be found along trails, on the roads, in forest clearings, out in the meadows and around the margin, any place the sun hits pretty well. They are also usually either vines or bushes. There are a few flowers here and there, but tonight we're going to be concentrating only on vines on trails. So let me just share a screen here. You'll be using the iNaturalist app, and I'll go through that and show you how to use it. So first, your enemy number one. This is the easiest thing to see. The Asiatic bittersweet is a very strong climbing vine. It always takes over trees. When it does, the invasive part is that the vine is so strong that it'll twine up a tree and send out runners on the outside of the canopy. That means its leaves basically steal the sunlight from the tree, and over the years the tree gets weaker and weaker, can't photosynthesize, and eventually dies. And that's one thing. Coming up just about now in the late spring, late summer, early fall, you'll get the berries. There are some people who are maybe unnamed in my family that pick these and make nice little wreaths out of them and put them up for Christmas. The berries get scattered all over, and things happen in nature. And then, of course, a shot of what the vines look like. I'm sure that as you go along a trail, you will find many specimens exactly like this. Another, let's see here, so for some reason I'm not getting, okay. Enemy number two is the black swallowwort. It's a gorgeous plant, very shiny green leaves that in late summer will tend to a nice dark black-green color. And just about now, the vines that are the pods on the vines that you see are, I'm holding those up. They're right out of my own backyard. And as you can see, that those pods show that it is in the milkweed family. Those pods soon will expand and open and scatter the same kind of fluffy seeds all over the landscape, just like a milkweed does. But this one, the monarchs do not go for. So what I'm asking you to do is to be an invasives reporter. As I said, most invasive plants are sun lovers, and here's where you can find them. What you'll be doing is making observations on a phone app called the iNaturalist. The iNaturalist app is it's a really large app, but it's also very simple. By large, I mean it was funded and built by the Cornell University laboratories, and behind iNaturalist, well, what it does is identify species, mostly plants, but animals and a lot of animals as well. There is a huge database that all of the observations go into. And so what we'll be doing here in Amherst is identifying specifically invasives using a photo, and a photo on your iPhone always has the XY lat long coordinates associated with the place that you took the picture. The photo will tell iNaturalist what the species is. You will write a note on the identification that this is an invasive, and we'd like you to tag it with whether it's area, low or medium or high. Low means, a single specimen or a few. Medium might be, let's say 50 feet of the same thing strung along a trail. High is a house lot full of this stuff. And we need it tagged that way because the low things, we'll have people who can go back out and take out the individuals. Mediums, we might have a work party to do some knotweed pull someday, probably next summer. High is where we call it, well, we hire a real contractor who is adapted and licensed to take out this stuff. So, and then just a little housekeeping thing. As you walk along and find these things, any little sprouts of Oriental bittersweet that you find, they'll be growing right under the main stem. Just pull them up by the roots, put them in a plastic bag, and throw them out with your trash when you get home. And also another housekeeping thing is that I'd like you, when you get an iNaturalist registration, an account, please email us your handle. That way I can find you on iNat, because iNat does not use your name and it does not use your real email address. They have this anonymous handle, and I can't find out who in Amherst is doing this stuff by just looking at their handle. Okay, what is this iNat thing? Well, I'm not going to explain all of iNaturalist. As I say, it is a fairly large, and it's not complicated, but it's a very large application that has a lot of different activities. Once you get it, figure out how to navigate to this place that I'm showing you here. You start a new observation by either this, seeing that, and by the way, here's my handle. I'm the ACC gadfly. You probably wonder why, but they'll find out. Or it might show up that you start a new observation with a little plus sign down in the list of all the observations that you have made to date. You'll get a new screen when you tap that plus sign, and it will look like this. It'll black out your observations and give you a place to where you can take a photo. Oh, by the way, if you go out with your phone without iNaturalist, or it's not open, and you go out and take a bunch of pictures of these things, you can use this choose image thing. It'll go find those photos for you and do the right thing. So you tap the take photo, your camera will open, you take the picture just like that. I didn't show the whole screen because Android and iPhones have a little different presentation.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, John. Just real quick for everyone. So I actually use an iPhone. So fundamentally everything's the same as John's saying. You'll just see the organization on the iPhone's a little different. You'll actually have an observe button. You just click the button and you basically follow the same path.
Very good. So you take the photo, you get a new screen on in iNat. It will suggest an ID. Yeah, in this case, this isn't an invasive, but it was the closest thing I had this evening to start. So, and incidentally, if you're not in a Wi-Fi area, you're in your no cell phone coverage, you're not connected, just keep going. iNat will save the photo and download it later, and you can continue and everything works whether you're online or offline. Okay, so you tap what you think it is suggesting. You can tap the basic genus that it's suggesting, or some of the suggestions. Tap the one you think is best. Get a new screen. Here is where you it will say notes on this line, and as you start typing, the word note goes away. Type in invasive and the characteristic of the area, low, medium, or high. And again, oh, by the way, if you want to take some more pictures, pictures of leaves is one thing, pictures of the stem is another, pictures of the berry is still and iNaturalist will use all of those to make a more correct identification. Okay, so you tap the check mark and you're done. So it will add that observation to your list. And yeah, so as I say, your work is done. But what happens is that because this is a really big database, as I say, it has the tools to be able to display maps of individual towns, individual locations. Actually, I can draw a polygon on and use that. We have another one in Buck Meadow all by itself. So anyway, on your phone or on a PC version, yeah, they have a website on your PC. You can just log in and do a lot of the same stuff. But I can later show you how to get a map of the Amherst area. Those locations and the photos that you took with the note that said invasive, any user can filter on the idea that it is a plant, it is an invasive, and it's in Amherst, and you'll get this kind of display. All these little green points are photos that I have taken or a few other folks have done of invasives in Amherst. You also get a what I call it a call out. You click on one of the points and you get this tag that the identification and some note of who took it. And in the background, every observation you make when it's on their database and their web for a day or two, some really cool person that knows better and is licensed to do this will come in and say, yes, I agree. That is sorry about that. That is a research grade observation. And he or she will tag that as research grade, which means suddenly all across the world, those observations are available to citizen scientists and real researchers to go off and do science things. Okay. So the cool thing for us here is that with these locations, the eventual hunter killers will know where and when, meaning spring is the good time to kill Oriental bittersweet if you're using a herbicide, because it's before the berries come out or before the flowers come out, and they'll know where and when and how to operate. And we can do all that because of what the reporter's data will give us. Thank you. Okay, that does that. I'm stopping. I'm going to somehow stop a share.
Okay, so that kind of covers everything that you wanted to go over, John?
Correct.
Okay, cool. Um, so yeah, again, I think this will probably evolve this process through the years, but at this time, we're just simply looking for, you know, getting some people out there with the app, identifying areas, prioritizing the areas. As we work through our invasive management process, we will attack the high priority areas. The simple thing you can do right now would obviously, report it. And if you do see, is John, it would be a good idea to kind of carry a plastic bag with you when you're out on the trails now.
Right.
And when
Right.
you see a few, bittersweet things starting to come up, grab them, pull them out, and stick them in the bag, and get them out of there to slow down the next outbreak. But right now, that's all we're asking. We may evolve this in the future, but not right now. So with that, I'm going to open it up to anybody. We have 3 participants here. Anybody have any questions for John?
John, this is Alan Cord. I've got one question for you. The
Mhm.
iNaturalist will identify what your picture is, but do we use some source to identify what we're looking at as being invasive or not?
Um, if you took a picture, well, you should know by now what an Oriental bittersweet looks like and
Yes.
what, right. So all I'm saying, if when you take pictures of those things, mark them as invasive. iNaturalist does not distinguish invasives from non-invasives. It it knows genus and taxonomies and all the biology stuff.
Right.
Invasives are a human problem, not a plant thing.
Yeah, maybe one answer for this would be on the ACC invasive page. John's identified some of the high priorities. He showed 2 on the presentation, but I think roughly there's 5 or 6 of them up on the ACC page. So
Mhm.
those are the ones that we're particularly looking for. But no, the iNaturalist doesn't just kind of spit out it's an invasive.
Right,
Okay.
and just to maybe even go a little further, um, as you know, ACC owns 5 or 6 meadows, fields that um, are not hay fields. They're real wildflower and such. If you want to go further afield, feel free. There's buckthorn and there's autumn olive and that sort of things out there. I'm just not including it in this initial introduction.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I see Marion's got her hand up, and
Yeah.
I just kind of
Hi,
wrap.
Marion.
Yeah, I would just make one comment before that next question. So again, back to evolving it. Right now, we've identified 5 or 6. In the future, we'll grow it more, but I think we're trying to start small and attack the big problems, and then we'll grow it as time goes on.
Right. Marion?
Hello, I just, in looking at iNaturalist, I see they have an area for projects. Would it be beneficial to maybe create an Amherst project where we're kind of gathering that stuff where we can look at it too specifically?
Absolutely. There are some constraints around projects. I the only person who can start a project is someone who has made over 50 research grade observations. I'm one of them, but there are a lot of folks out there. But people who go out and take pictures of their cat and their household plants, and that's discouraged. But Marion is making a good point that a project localizes, geographically localizes a certain, there's a certain mission or set of topics that should go on inside of a project. Then, and yeah, oh, by the way, when you folks go out and start identifying and recording these things, I probably will make an Amherst invasives project. I don't know if I want to make it into anything other than conservation lands, but we'll see.
I just think a project might be good because then as the group of, trail stewards or nature stewards who are going out doing that can easily see the data that we're all gathering. As opposed to, I know if you look at, you're looking at it on the big scale and being able to pull that information in that you want. But as the people gathering the data, we may not see what everybody else is pulling in.
Let me make another little point, and I didn't get into this on purpose, but iNaturalist, being a very large database, has tools for fairly close hold filtering. If you get into the main screen and you type in, there's a box up at the top for species and location. Type in Amherst, NH, USA. You'll get that presentation I showed at the last slide. I drew a clumsy boundary of where Amherst happens to be. Every observation will be in that box, and there's about 500 or 600 many things other than invasives taken by many people in and around Amherst. There is a filter that I chose in this display to say, give me plants in Amherst that have the invasive in the note. That's why I got only 10 or 12 little green location dots. If you don't use that filter, you'll get the 500 or 600 that I mentioned. And so, yes, Marion, we'll do a project either about, can do it about invasive specifically, or if things get bigger, we can do, turtles and reptiles in Amherst someday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Steve?
Turn it back over to me. Yeah, no, thank you for joining. Again, this is kind of a new initiative. We'll post the video on the ACC site as soon as we finish figuring out how to do that, hopefully in the next day or two. So if you haven't used it, play around with it. Our intent is to have another get together next week. I haven't planned the date yet, but I will get back with you. Hopefully we'll get some more people to participate and maybe some questions with people who are using it. So.
Oh, and as my final decree, I hereby anoint Marion and Alan and John nature stewards.
Thanks.
This is like a coronation, huh? Anyways, thanks for taking the time tonight. Our goal is not to keep you too long, so we'll drop off, but keep an eye on the emails and we'll keep in contact, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.